Alright brickers, it's time to reveal all the shiny bits going on the T6 build. Well, this project's moving really quickly and now I've got this huge stash of parts ready to go onto the T6 in order to make it work. So I'm going to go through them all, just explain a little bit about what I've got, maybe a little bit of why I made certain decisions. So let's get to it. First of all, I'm going to start obviously with the turbo. I don't think I've mentioned which turbo I'm going for, and here it is. It's a whole set HX35 because, you know, what's a Volvo turbo build without a massive truck turbo? I suppose it is too big for the power that I'm going for at the moment. It's a proper heavy unit. Look at this. So it's a bit of looking forward to at some point when I might go for a build with 500 horsepower when I've got a built engine, because it will go that high. But essentially it's an HX35. It's got the smallest exhaust housing, the 8cm one. One of the reasons I've gone for the HX35 is a lot to do with simplicity. The fact that it's not water cooled, it's only oil cooled. Also, it's internally wastegated, which is a big thing in terms of fabrication. The internal wastegate makes things a lot simpler. It's got a V-band on the exhaust housing. It's got a T3 twin entry flange which matches up to the exhaust manifold, which I'll get to in a second. It's got V-band on the intercooler piping as well. It just, all in, it's just a big turbo that's going to do the job well. And it's going to be as simple as possible to install. You know, if I've gone for water-cooled turbo with external wastegate, you know, there's lots of complications, just going to add time to the project. And one of the things I really want to do with this is get it running maybe at the end of September and even have it driving by October sometime. I did have the cold side powder coated by Rascal Baz, so thank you very much for that, just to make it extra shiny. You know how I do things around here. As you may have seen recently, I've been sponsored, so I'm proudly supported by Speed & Parts now. Speed & NU on Instagram. I'll put the tag on the screen, but the website link is also in the description along with my discount code. So if you use DriftBricker, the code DriftBricker, you get 10% off everything on the website. So go fill your boots and support them because they're supporting me, and this has made this build and also this YouTube channel possible. So I really appreciate them, especially, you know, I didn't want to get sponsored by, you know, hair loss company or protein drinks or VPN or anything like that. You know, I wanted to be something that I was passionate about, something I believed in, and something linked to the Volvo world. And this is just an absolute dream for me because, you know, you look for sponsorships for parts, tyres, fuel, oil, all these, you know, long list. And essentially Speed & Parts has all of the parts, not just general performance parts like the intercooler, which is a universal one, but also loads of specific Volvo parts. You can get red block and white block pistons and con rods. You know, I got the flange from them as well for the exhaust manifold. You got all these Volvo specific parts as well as absolutely everything I could possibly need. So I find myself putting in orders all the time. The shipping's really fast with FedEx. The prices are great as well. So I really appreciate Speed & Parts for coming on board with this project. Really appreciate it, and I'm trying to return the favour by promoting them and having people use my discount code. So I really appreciate it if you go check out Speed & Parts and just check out the massive array of parts that they've got. So anyway, onto the intercooler. This is quite a big unit. I've tested it in the car and it fits perfectly in front of the radiator. I think I'm going to run it this way up. The turbo, the intercooler pipes are coming down from the turbo, so that'll make this this side easier. As I'm looking at it, you know, the engine's where you are. and then it comes around and out that way to the throttle body. Also, it needs to go kind of underneath the alternator and then up because of the inlet manifold having the throttle body on the underside. So all in, I think having these at the bottom is the best way to go. Should have a good fit. You see with the B-roll, just the quality of the welds. We've got mounting points on the top and the bottom. The welding's great. It's just a great unit. I've got 3-inch inlet and outlet. 3-inch is the same as the throttle body. The outlet from the whole set is a bit smaller, but I'll have a reducer to go onto the turbo. But yeah, great intercooler, and you know, if you check this out in Speed and Parts, honestly, you'll be surprised just at how cheap these are. I think you can get some change from 100 quid for most intercoolers, but there's a huge range of them on there, all different sizes, inlets, outlets, for pretty much any application. You know, you can get them for red blocks or anything, but this one here, I might put the size up on the screen because I can't remember offhand. But this fits perfectly in the space in front of the radiator on the 960. So next off the intercooler, we have the inlet manifold, just the stock turbo inlet manifold, but obviously Rascal Bars has worked his magic with the powder coating again. It did react a little bit, so it looks a bit sparkly, but overall it just looks absolutely amazing compared to how it looked before. I might chuck a picture in of how it did look before, because it looked absolutely terrible. But now it looks lovely, it's nice and clean, and it'll be perfect for the build. So next we have our coil packs. Bit of drama with the coil packs. I needed to use the Volkswagen coils, and everybody upgrades their Volkswagen coils to the Audi R8 coils, the red tops. So I got Audi R8 coils. And it turns out there's two types of VAG coils, the short and long, and I had the long ones and they were the wrong ones. So I sent them back and I got the shorter ones. So I've got the from NGK, they're the shorter Volkswagen coils, and I'll reveal why I've gone Volkswagen in a minute. I haven't got spark plugs yet. I have got injectors. So on the injectors I have the 630cc Deca injectors. 630cc is going to be plenty for what I need for this, for my power goals, so they should go pretty well. Not much else to say about them, I suppose. What's next? Okay, now we've gone through the combustion bit, the fuel and the ignition, onto the exhaust manifold now. Some local guys close to me have called Stellar Performance. He's made the exhaust manifold and the downpipe. You might have seen on the Instagram that the car went away to get this fabricated and the downpipe. He did an amazing job in a short space of time. I've already said that he had a drift day, a workshop at Teesside on one weekend, and then the following weekend a massive weekend drift event up in Scotland at Driftland. So in between them he smashed out this amazing exhaust manifold and the downpipe really quick, really good quality. I can't thank him enough, and I've just basically made a really good friend and a really good group of friends. I haven't known them that long, but they kind of have the same ethos as what us Volvo drifters and Volvo enthusiasts have. We kind of think a bit outside the box, do things differently. Yeah, a lot of them got BMWs, but you know, they're drifting in mostly BMW Z4s, which is a bit different, and what they're doing with them and how they're going about the builds, they've just got a really similar attitude of thinking outside the box, doing things more interesting, and having just a passion and a pride about how the car looks as well, because I think that's a lot about how I drift as well. I've got such a passion for my Volvo. I only want to drift my Volvo. I don't want to just drift any car. I don't really have that passion to do that. I want to drift, you know, my own Volvo because I've got passion about it. I love how it looks. I love how it looks going sideways. I love how I've built it. I love everything about it, the stance, the wheels, and everything that I stand for with my drifting. I've found a connection with how they work at Stellar Performance. So, I mean, this wasn't a sponsored piece. I didn't, get a mad discount or anything like that. I'm not sponsored by them, but they've done an amazing job with this. They've done an amazing job with the downpipe, and I just feel like I'm kind of at the start of a really close relationship with Stellar Performance. So, I really appreciate what they've done, and just check out this B-roll of the exhaust manifold. So you can see the welds are just amazing. The build quality is class. The flange itself is from Anderson Speed, which you might know from Sweden. So that the flange itself was a part that I got at a discounted price from Speed and Parts. So the flange itself was from Anderson Speed, but then Stellar Performance and Adam from Stellar Performance mainly made the exhaust manifold. Now, you might be thinking, oh, why has he gone for a log manifold? It's not the most efficient way to have your manifold. Well, I've gone for the log manifold for a few reasons. One of them's definitely cost. I wasn't going to put thousands into an exhaust manifold at this point because I've spent a lot of money on other parts and the project as a whole. I'm trying to do things for a reasonable cost, and that was one of the factors. Also, these log manifolds, they're good for packaging, so it gives us enough space in the engine bay. Also, they're very strong compared to stainless tubular. I know stainless tubular, equal length manifold's gonna maybe sound better, flow better, but they are a lot of money. So I weighed up all my options and I've made my choice, and this is what I've got, and I'm honestly extremely happy with how it's turned out, how it all fits in the engine bay. I've got a video coming in the next couple of days that's going to reveal how all of these parts look in the engine bay, because I have bolted them all in just to see how things look, and honestly it just blew my mind. So I can't wait to release that here on YouTube and on Instagram. So yeah, thank you very much for Stellar Performance for that. And on to the next part that they made for me, which was the downpipe. Now, I made the exhaust myself for the 960 NA engine, and it took us months. I made it way too complicated. That was my fault, but I am capable of making a downpipe, no doubt about that. However, in terms of time constraints and just the quality of the end product, because I'm not going to make anything like this. I'm going to just MIG weld some messy stuff that's going to work, and it's going to take us a long time. So I thought I'd get the professionals to do it. So Adam from Stellar Performance made this awesome downpipe as well. I'm going to do the rest of the exhaust. Myself. It's going to be as simple as possible. 3-inch, a silencer, maybe over the rear axle, but initially, just to get the build driving, I might just do a turn down before the rear axle. But yeah, as you see the B-roll again, just look at these welds, man. The class, the fit. I've fitted this up already. The fit is amazing. He's welded on a V-band. He's welded on the bung for the wideband for the ECU. Just overall, a really nice piece that was made professionally and in really good time. So again, thanks for that. Right, what else have we got that we haven't been over? Oh yes, the main event. The most expensive part of the build by a long way. I've gone for a MaxECU. Whoop, chill out. Yeah, I've gone for a MaxECU race. By far and away the most expensive piece of the entire build. There was one bit that I didn't want to skimp on. I wanted all of the features that I could possibly need, and again, it's one of those future-proofing things. I'll have a lot of the basic things up and running on this build, but in future when I go to 5, 6, 7, 800 horsepower, then this is going to be ready for that. Anything I want, individual exhaust gas temperature, all of the tricks, all of the features, all of the safety features, I've got everything I can possibly need in the MaxECU race. With the T6 build, I initially wanted to keep, I keep talking about simplicity, and one of those things with the simplicity was with the T6 build, I could just have the NA head go just no VVT and use a cable throttle, all the things that I had in the NA build. But with this turbo one, because I've got the ECU, I'm going to use the variable valve timing on the intake and the exhaust, and I'm going drive-by-wire as well. So these are a few bits of technology that are going into the build that I'm a little bit apprehensive of, but I hope it's going to pay off in the long run in terms of the power, the delivery, and maybe even the reliability. We'll see how that goes. But that's just a few of the features that I'm going to get, the benefits of using the MaxECU. One big reason I went with MaxECU, obviously it wasn't the cost, because as I've taught it was quite an expensive piece. But one of the major benefits on top of all the features that I get with it is the fact that MaxECU make a terminated harness. So I didn't want to build a harness from scratch for this, because I'm just not qualified, and yeah, that was probably just a bit too much for me at this point. But MaxECU make a terminated harness for the T5 engine. So I've bought that, and I'm going to just add, as you see here, an extra plug for the extra coil pack and the extra injector to make it a T6 harness instead of a T5 harness. So this harness has almost all of the plugs that I need. I only need to add a handful of extra wires into this, so I'm not going to call it plug and play, that would just be ridiculous, but 90% of the work has already been done for the harness with this the T5 terminated harness on top of the MaxECU race. So all in, I think I've got a really solid starting point where I can get the car running pretty soon. My latest delivery from Speed and Parts, I got the clutch disc, so I've got a 6-puck, I think it's just a 240mm clutch. I've already got my TTV racing flywheel, so I'm going to reuse that I had on the NA car. That has been brilliant. I'm just going to upgrade the clutch. I had a stock 850R clutch, and now I'm going to upgrade to the 6-puck, so it's going to be a little bit heavier, but it'll take all the power that I need, and hopefully it won't explode my M90 gearbox immediately. I've got future plans for the gearbox, but I would like my M90 gearbox to last, half a dozen drift days maybe. We'll see how it goes. On top of the clutch disc in that delivery, well, the intercooler came on that delivery as well, but also I got a turbo blanket, so I've got a carbon turbo blanket for my whole set turbo. I've got some exhaust heat wrap that I'm going to wrap the downpipe in as well, and I got some shims for the clutch disc as well. So the clutch disc, I think it's about 8mm wide, and when it's bigger than 6mm, you need to shim the pressure plate out over, because the clutch disc, the 6-puck, is thicker than the stock clutch, so you need to space out the pressure plate in order for that to work. So I've got the shims as well. I've got a few service bits and bobs. I've got a sump gasket. I still need to get the intake, inlet and exhaust manifold gaskets. I've got an oil filter, I've got a timing belt kit and an auxiliary belt as well, so that's all getting new because the one on there's crispy. That'll be put on once I pull the engine out. I've got an air filter as well. I've got a Ram Air one, just nice and cheap, does the job, and I'll be able to have like a 4.5-inch bent intake pipe coming from the turbo to the air filter where the battery is at the moment. I may or may not put the battery in the back of the car. I'll see how that goes. And also I got some new driving gloves. I treated myself to some new driving gloves from Monkey London, so shout out to Monkey. These gloves took a long time to develop. They're really high quality. I think they're really cool as well. I just really like them. I've never had any proper driving gloves before. I've only had like cheap ones, and these are just a bit hot boy, and I love them, absolutely love them, especially like with the alternate colours of pink and purple. The quality's amazing. I'm a big fan of Monkey London as well. we've been chatting over the last couple of years. He's been trying to do a review on my drift car, and we never got around to it. But maybe one day, once I get the turbo running, we can do a video. Anyway, so I think that's all. I think I've gone through most of the things, most of the parts that I bought for this build. I've still got a lot of stuff to buy, even just daft stuff like spark plugs, but all the major parts are here. I'm at the point now where I've got enough parts to get the car running, so the next month I'm really going to thrash on the car, get the engine out, get the sump fitted properly with a gasket, get the timing belt changed over, get everything together. Just once the engine's out, I can clean the engine bay, remove everything I don't need, get the engine bay ready, get the ECU figured out, get the engine back in, get everything plugged in, and then start thinking about trying to fire up the car. Oh, in terms of firing up the car, also I didn't mention MaxECU. They also, not only do they do a T5 terminated harness, they've even got a T6 base map on their website with, I think it's got 1000cc injectors, so I can just scale them back. But I know I'm making it sound a lot easier than it probably is. But anyway, MaxECU, you know, they've got the terminated harness, they've got a base map on the website to download as well. So I think I'm going to honestly be turning the key and firing this car in September. Might be a bit too ambitious, but we'll see how it goes. Right, thanks very much guys. I'm going to leave it there because I'm just rambling. The next video in the next couple of days is going to be the reveal of how everything looks in the engine bay. Honestly, it looks absolutely incredible. I'm also getting ready for Elvington, the Talk Volvo event on Sunday. So I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Oh, stick around till after my outro. I'll show you a little sneaky peek of the engine bay.